The Vegas Golden Knights' inaugural season was a true miracle story, which makes you wonder, how did Vegas almost pull off the greatest underdog story of all of sports history, while other expansion teams just struggle to win even half of their games? So that's what I'm going to be talking about. This will likely be a three-part series. I'm going to talk about Vegas, the expansion draft, the regular season, all their stats, things of that nature. In the first video, this video. The second video, I will be talking about the playoffs and what has happened since their first year. And then that third video, I'm going to be talking about what Vegas did, why it was so special, and why other teams haven't been able to replicate it, or why they weren't able to do it before. So my name is John. This is the Sports Advocate. If you didn't know, I am a big Vegas Golden Knights fan I was there since the expansion draft day one. And this has been a story. This is my favorite sports story of all time. I know there's other great ones like Michael Jordan, not being in high school, not picked for the team, Jimmy Butler, homeless to all-star. I know there's great ones, but this is personally my favorite sports story of all time. Just that first year, going from the expansion draft all the way deep into the Stanley Cup and to the finals. If you didn't know, spoiler alert, I'm sure you know those 5 years ago. And if you're an NHL fan, you're going to know already. But yeah, so this is pretty much the story I wanted to tell when I first started my YouTube, which this is the story why I decided to start. And I wanted to wait a little bit till I figured some things out. And who knows, maybe if I somehow blow up, which I would love, thank you if you guys allow me to do that. Maybe I'll do another telling of the story more in depth later down the road. But I just wanted to start it now. So let's go and get into it. First things first, I want to talk to you about the expansion draft because that's what I'm going to talk about right off the bat. So how the expansion draft works, if you didn't know, your picks, you get one player from every NHL team in the reverse order of the standings. So like the order that the players are picked doesn't really matter. Whoever's the worst team, you're going to choose a player from that team first, and then so on and so forth down the road. And that's why Marc-Andre Fleury was the second to last picked. We'll get into like that in a second here. Sometimes you'll see trades like in the Vegas. I think there's like 8. You'll see trades. So say Vegas wants these 2 players. They'll talk to that team. Hey, we're thinking about picking these 2 people. And then the team might decide, hey, we still want this guy in our team, but we couldn't technically protect him. So what if we give you like a 5th round pick and you choose that other guy so that we keep this guy? So that's a big thing that happened a couple times during the draft. Yeah, and Vegas or any expansion team in general still gets to pick in the normal draft, like the young rookies or whatever you would call it. They also get to join in free agency, and it happens like right away after the Stanley Cup. I think it's 10 days was the circumstance of, yeah, it was 10 days because in the Fleury conversation, they're like, what's it like winning the Stanley Cup 10 days ago and being here now? And yeah, so it's just crazy. So let's go ahead and get into the players, the picks, some of the quick stats, and then I'll move into the regular season, the stats, some of the crazy news that happened like during it, some of the big important stuff, and things like that. But like I said, my name is John. This is a Sports Advocate. Let's go ahead and get right into it. First things first, the most important player for Vegas, I'd say in their entire franchise history, sadly, no longer with the team. But Marc-Andre Fleury, he was the second to last pick. Sorry, my headphones are bugging me. In the draft, he had just won his 3rd Stanley Cup with the Penguins, and they put him up for Vegas to choose in the expansion draft. Now, you could argue he was older at the time. His contract was pretty big. They wanted to go younger. They thought they had it all there because they still had Sid and all that stuff. So I'd say it's fair, but like as Vegas, like that's the obvious pick. You got to go get a star goalie, and that's exactly what Marc-Andre Fleury was. So the previous year, Fleury was 18-10 with a 3.02 goals against average and a .909 save percentage. That's all very good. Turn this mic down a little bit. All very good. Easily a starting starting goalie on at pretty much any team except for like the top like 10, you'd say. But yeah, that's huge. I'm so happy that Vegas ended up with Fleury. I used to be a Penguins fan when I was younger, and then I like fell off because it wasn't interesting to me when I was young. And the NFL and the NBA took over, and there's no option for me to play hockey as a kid, so watching it wasn't as interesting since I like didn't play it. But when Vegas started, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna join hockey again, and why not start with a brand new team? So I chose Vegas. I went with Vegas, and then when they chose Fleury in the draft, I was like, oh, this is great. I get to watch my favorite goalie of all time on my new favorite team, and since choosing Vegas, I've been very happy. I'm a diehard fan, even though it's only been 5 years. But I'm very happy with how it's went, especially with Fleury. Sadly, he's gone now. But next thing, we got William Carlson. So he had single-digit goals in the prior 2 years. He ended up having 43 goals his first year with Vegas, which is spectacular, especially when you compare it to what he just had. And yeah, it's crazy to see how quickly these like lower tier, quote unquote, or like role players came to Vegas and just balled out. Like nowadays you look, and most of the players that Vegas chose and still has on the roster, even if they're like third line, fourth line, could easily be a first or second line on any other team. Like a perfect example, Jack Eichel, Vegas just traded for him, sent Alex Tuck to the Sabres. Alex Tuck was playing like minimal minutes. Sure, he was playing great in the playoffs, but he was lower line, and he ended up, I think he's second line. I think he was first line for a little bit there. But that's like a perfect example. Alex Tuck goes from a lower line, and then he's a starter over there for the Sabres. Next up, we got Riley Smith. Riley Smith had 37 points in his previous year. He ended up coming to Vegas. In the first year, he had 60 points. That's big. Jonathan Marchessault, he only had one season in his entire career above 40 points. Since joining Vegas, every single year, so 5 years, he's had above 40 points every year, including this year. So that's big. You're just seeing a lot of these people that just didn't have a lot of prior history being like really good players, and then they come to Vegas and then they just break out. And that's huge. Next up, I brought up Alex Tuck. He only played 6 NHL games prior to joining Vegas. He had 37 points his first year with Vegas. Next, we got David Perron. He had 66 points his first year with Vegas, was the most in his entire career. Malcolm Subban had a goalie, had no wins in the NHL at all. First year with Vegas, 13-4-2 win record. So even at 13-6, you're winning double the amount of games as you're losing, which is huge, especially when no NHL games prior to that. That's crazy. And then we have Oscar Dansk. He had never played an NHL game at all prior to joining Vegas. He's a goalie, and he ended up 3-0 the only times he played for Vegas. And that's what I'm talking about. The production that some of these players that were dismissed by their old team, they come to Vegas and they play their minds out, and it's just huge news. I feel like I gotta sneeze. Okay, so we're running a little bit longer, but this, like I said, this is my favorite story, so I just want to give in depth. And I know it's going to be longer. I expect this to be like 30, 40 minutes. So thank you if you do decide to tune in. We're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty and the important things right now. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope there's not a little echo. It almost sounds like there is in my headphones. If you're seeing this right now, it must not have been that bad. Otherwise, I had to redo it. But I hope the lighting's good. I see my face is a little shadowed because of the mic. But it is what it is. It's a little later bit in the night than normal, as you can see. It's literally pitch black. It's like 10 o'clock right now. But I did all this work. That's why I haven't uploaded in the past few days, because I've been working so hard on this. I should have a bunch of videos here soon, though. I recorded like 3 today so far, and I'm going to record 2 more. But yeah, let's get into it. The nitty-gritty, okay? So the regular season for the Vegas Golden Knights, the first season in the NHL, period. Their record, 51 wins, 24 losses, and 7 overtime losses. And that is, if you didn't know, the most wins by an expansion team ever. Previous was 33, which is crazy. And if you don't know how the point system works for playoffs in the NHL, it's 2 points per win and 1 point per overtime loss. So Vegas ended up with 109 points, and that was the most points by a first-year team ever. Previous was 83. And Vegas also won with this record, won the division, which is the first time anyone's an expansion team has ever won the division, outside of the Flyers in 67-68, which was the second year of the NHL's existence. And that division was literally all expansion teams, so someone was bound to win it. But this is the first time in modern history that of any major like American sport, NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, that an expansion team had a winning record, which means if Vegas just had 42, a winning record, 43 wins, that would have been the first team ever, and they got 51, which is huge. So quick things before we get rolling here. The Vegas Golden Knights were predicted to be terrible. Literally, I saw some back then, and now that I've been looking back through things, there's a lot of people saying this team clearly drafted to be good in 5 years. That's exactly what people were saying. They clearly drafted so they could be good in a couple years. No one expected it. They were expected to get like 20 wins, 30 wins, and they got 51 wins. Like, that's crazy. And we're not even talking playoffs yet at this point. Just a regular season, they had 51 wins, and they were expected to get like 20. Like, that's crazy. Like, 20 wins is like you get a couple good games here and there, and you beat a couple good teams, and then you break even on winning against like these really, really bad teams. That's what 20 is. 51. Their normal losses was the same amount as they were expected to win. Okay? So, and to start the season, their first 3 games, 3-0. 3-0. Okay? They lost their 4th game. The first 10 games, they were 8-3. They actually started 8-1, so they ended up losing 2 back-to-back. But the first 10 games, they were 8-3, which, like, what do you expect from an expansion team? The 8-3, like, sure. So the big Vegas. I don't even want to really talk about it, just because I don't know enough, and just because like it's political. But there was the concert shooting and all that stuff, and a lot of people were saying, oh, this 8-3 run is just because they're all really Vegas excited, like the town is all hyped, so they're like, oh, let's put on a performance for our city, and they go 8-3, and everyone was like, they're gonna fall off, but they just didn't. And so their point percentage, if I didn't bring that up, I said 109 points they had. It's a .665 percentage. So every time they're playing a game, 66%, 67%, depending on how you want to round. 66% of the time they were getting a point for towards the playoffs. They were getting a point, which is like, that's great for any team. Like, I just want to put that out there. That's great for any team. You're making playoffs every year. You might win your division every year doing that, and you're happy as a fan if your team's doing that. This was an expansion team. I know I've repeated that a million times, but this is why the story is just so crazy, because you look at these stats and you look at these and you're like, as a fan, say you're what's a team that, like, the Oilers. Okay, say you're the Oilers. You're a fan of the Oilers. You got Connor McDavid. You got Nurse. You got all these guys. If you go out and you get 51 wins and you got 109 points and you're making the playoffs, you're probably really fucking excited. And pardon my Frank. And you're really happy, and you're like, oh, this team can go do something now. And Vegas did that right away. And that's just why this team was so special. That's why this story is so special. So let's move on real quick. Game 1, the very first game of this franchise's entire existence, an away game in Dallas against the Dallas Stars. Game 1, magical from the get-go, okay? It was a 2-1 victory over Dallas. They were down by 1 point, and about halfway through the third, 1/4 of the way through the third, you end up seeing Ben Bishop go down with an injury. Ben Bishop had a crazy save early in the game where he just laid flat on the puck and stopped it. Huge save. He ends up getting injured and going out in the third, and that's when James Neal takes over. James Neal gets his first goal. Okay, now we're tied. this team maybe can do something. I'm sure I was worried when it was 0-1. I'm like, oh, this team might not be as good as I was hoping. And then the kneeling as he's falling, James Neal, kneeling, shot, goal. As he's falling on one knee, takes the puck, shoots it straight up, top left corner, bang! 2-1. Vegas is up. And then they close out the game. And Vegas has won their first game. Okay, this is great news as a fan. And I couldn't be happier in that moment. I was so happy. And what a crazy goal to win the first ever game. As you're falling backwards on one knee, about to put your second knee down, shoot up, top left corner, in, goal. You just won. I mean, there was a couple minutes left, but like you're up. And then they go on and win. And it's crazy. And then you go win your second game. That's not huge and important. It's another away game. And then your third game. Your first home game. It's a brand new franchise. The crowd is packed. It's filled. 17,500 people. The facility is filled with fans that are just for this team. Your team's 2-0 the first time entering your stadium. It's buzzing. It's buzzing in there. Everyone's going crazy. And then that speech for those victims, and everyone's going crazy. Everyone's so happy that this, I don't even know how to explain it. They're not happy. Like, everyone's saddened for what has just occurred a couple weeks ago. But everyone knows that this city of Vegas is coming together around this and growing and trying to get protection, and they have something to put all their energy towards and build around and just take them out of all that. And so everyone's happy to be there. Everyone's excited to watch this brand new team and just forget about all the bad stuff that's going on. And Vegas puts on a show. They put on a show. Does this help at all? Sure, it helps a little bit. They put on a show. So the speech happens. I'm not even telling you what the final score is. If you don't know, I'm going to take you for a ride. And the game starts. Okay, we watch the puck drop. We see a little shoving, crossing line over here. And the puck starts, and within seconds, there's a shot on Fleury. He saves it. Of course he saved it. My cat's very confused. Hey, Carol, it's fine. Fleury saves it. Okay, and it's some back and forth for a couple minutes, 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. Thomas Nozick, bang, puts it in. 1-0. Vegas is buzzing. Everyone's going crazy in that stadium. 2 minutes later, Derek Engelland, another one. 2-0. And 2 minutes later, James Neal, another one. Like, everyone's buzzing. Vegas has 3 goals and is going crazy. And this is all in the first period. You know what? Better yet. 4 minutes later, James Neal, 2 goals already in just the first period. Vegas up 4. Vegas has 4 goals in 11 minutes in their first ever home game. The stadium's erupting. Everyone that's a fan at home is going crazy. Even people that aren't fans of Vegas are sitting watching this like, wow, this is remarkable. First time playing in a stadium, brand new team, just your third game of your entire season, and you got 4 goals in 11 minutes. Like, that's special. Vegas went on to win 5-2, if you didn't know. Vegas now 3-0. They did go on to lose the next game, but Vegas was 3-0, coming off a 5-2 win, first time ever playing in the T-Mobile Arena. Everyone's buzzing. The show before the pregame was just insane. Like, the atmosphere is crazy. This team's going wild. I'm sure there was a ton of gambling on the team, and everyone's winning, and it was special. And you know what? It continued to be special. The rest of the season, it continued to be special. And I'm not going to touch up on any games specifically just because I don't want this video being 3 hours long, because I could. I mean, we're at 20 minutes and I've talked about 2 games and the draft. But this team was special. And this team continued to be special. With the Misfits, William Carlson and all the misfits, and you never knew what they were going to do, and they just went out and they played, and they scored, and they did everything. With James Neal, the old guy that everyone thought couldn't do anything, scoring goals. Marc-Andre Fleury. The Penguins gave up on Fleury after his third championship with the team. And he's playing lights out. You know what? Let's jump down to stats real quick. I'm gonna just talk about Fleury. I have it written down, so if you see me looking down, that's why. Marc-Andre Fleury on the year, 29, 13, and 4. That's pretty good. Okay, so 29 and 17. It's a very good win-loss, if you ask me. I'd be very happy with that. Tell you what, right now, if Robin Lehner was 29, 13, and 4, I would be very happy. I think most teams, if their starting goalie was like that, would be very happy. I mean, that's huge. You have 62 points when your starting goalie's in net. I think you're very happy. Okay, and Marc-Andre Fleury had a 2.24 goals against average. That's so small. And even better, he had a .927 save percentage, which, if you didn't know, Marc-Andre Fleury just won the award last year. The Vezina, I think. My apologies if I messed it up. The Vezina for best goalie in the league. He just won it last year, and his save percentage last year was .928. In his first year in Vegas, he had a .927. Well, what more can you ask for your starting goalie? I mean, that's great. That's huge. I was so happy as an ex-Penguins fan and a brand new Vegas fan to watch Marc-Andre Fleury play like his young self, like his number one overall self, and the rest of the team was doing the same thing. William Carlson, as I brought up earlier, William Carlson had, the past 2 seasons had less than 10 goals the past 2 years. 43 goals. 43 goals. First year in Vegas, he had 43 goals, and he's improved since then, and he's starting to go down. This year, not as great, but 43 goals. David Perron, team lead 50 assists. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that this year. This year, say Mark Stone has 50 assists. I'm happy with that. Okay, next up, William Carlson again. Team lead 78 points. That's very good. That's very good. Back to 5 shutout wins. Marc-Andre Fleury had 4. I didn't bring that up. This team is just working together, and they're working together great, okay? And lastly, I thought this was a good little statistic just to add in real quick. On December 31st, the first hat trick by a Vegas Golden Knights player, William Carlson. Okay? So this is great. William Carlson has come out as a breakout star, and the rest of the team is coming along with him. Jonathan Marchessault, Alex Tuck, Marc-Andre Fleury, James Neal. We got all these people. Zach Whitecloud was first year there. I don't think he played many games. But, the team was buzzing, and the city was buzzing, and they had someone to rally around. Their team just went 51, 24, and 7. And the city's going crazy. And now Vegas is entering the playoffs, the number 1 in their entire division. And everyone is so happy and excited. And all the critics still say, oh, this was a fluke. Vegas is going to go in and they're going to lose their first round. That everyone was saying it. Everyone's like, oh, they're going to get swept their first round. A team's not going to come in and do this right away. Okay? And we're going to talk about that in the next video. And I kind of ran through some things pretty quick there. And like I said, at some point I do intend to make a really long one that's just really in depth. But with my audience now, and with hoping someone will click on it, I don't think a video with low views that's super long is probably going to get a lot of clicks. But Vegas did something special, and I know I kept preaching first year, inaugural season, all that. But it was. I mean, let's think about it, okay? Seattle Kraken just came in. What do they have? I don't even know. Matter of fact, let's look. Let's look at their stats real quick as I open this. Seattle Kraken just had, this is their inaugural season, okay? And we're going to look at standings real quick. We're going to go to division because they're in the same division as Vegas. Okay, right now, Seattle, number 8 in the division. 20 wins, 38 losses, 6 overtime losses, 46 points. Okay. And this is, let's do some quick old maths. 64 games into the season. So the season's about over. So 64 wins, or wins, geez Louise, 64 games in, and they have 20 wins on the season. So that's what? 18 less to this point. Even if they won their next 18 and went insane, that's 38 wins. Vegas had 51. This team already has, at this very moment, Seattle already has 38 losses, more than Vegas by 14. They have 6 overtime losses, 1 less than Vegas. So, I mean, you're looking at it, and what did I say? I said 38. If they won everything, they'd have 38 wins. You're still 13 under Vegas. And I haven't followed Seattle as much. I haven't seen as many headlines. I haven't been able to catch many games. But I can pretty much guarantee you Seattle has not done half of this crazy stuff. Now, statistically, obviously they haven't. They haven't beat these records of most wins by first time or most points or anything like that. But they didn't win their first game. They played Vegas. And I'm sure they didn't have their first home game or something had 4 goals in the first 11 minutes. So what Vegas did was truly special, and I hope I got my point across. And I hope I'm not preaching over heads, or I hope I'm not almost slamming at you with a hammer. But I'm stating the facts, and I'm giving you the energy because as a fan of the Vegas Golden Knights, watching that first season was literally like reading a fictional book. The whole season. From start, from drafting Fleury to winning the first game, to the sliding knee, to the first home game, 4 goals in 11 minutes, to the statistics, to everything, to everything. It was like reading a fictional book. And the best part was you didn't know what the book was going to write next. You didn't know what that next page, you didn't know what the next chapter was going to be. You just didn't. And it kept surprising you. This team kept surprising me. It kept surprising anyone else that was watching, a fan or not. It was truly spectacular what Vegas did. And what they've continued to do is as well. And I think the craziest part, I'm going to bring this up real quick. Vegas. What is it? Pete. Oh, shucks. I don't want to say the wrong name. Their coach of the first year. Currently it's Pete Gerald. Oh, God. Gerald Gallant. Oh, my God. I butchered his name. I apologize to you if you were to ever watch this, but you probably won't. He, if you didn't know, was the Panthers head coach before Vegas. And in the middle of a long stretch of away games, he ended up getting fired in the middle of the stretch of away games. And what the team did is they made him pack his stuff and they sent him out in a taxi. They kicked him off the team. They told, get your stuff, and they sent him in a taxi, and they said, you're done. You're fired. And that was it. And just imagine that. Imagine coming to work after working so hard to get where you are, and you come to work and you're just told, hey, you're fired, go get in a taxi, go home. And it was something you truly cared about, because if he came back to the sport, he clearly cared about coaching. And he does that, And just like Fleury, just like all of these players that were put into the expansion draft and drafted by Vegas, he was pushed to the curb, said, "You're not good enough to be on this team." And he comes to Vegas and takes this band of misfits, these role players, these guys that, hey, you're not good enough, these young guys that haven't played enough, this all of this. And he takes every single one of these players and he makes these role players superstar. He makes these nobodies role players, and he makes everyone have a job, and everyone knows their job, and everyone is happy to do their job. And that's why this team was so good and so special. James Neal, hey, I need you to go score some goals. He scores goals. William Carlson, hey, I know you haven't done great, but I need everything from you. I need goals, I need assists, and he did it. 43 goals, 78 points. Hey, Fleury, I saw what you did last year and the year before. You just won a Stanley Cup. So why don't you come here and do that same thing? Come here and prove to the Penguins that they were dumb for letting you walk. Prove to everyone that you are better than your age. And do it. And do it year after year. Do it for 4 years for this team. And on that 4th year, prove it even more. Go get that Vezina. Go get that President's Trophy with Robin Lehner. Sorry about that. You know? And it kept going. Hey, Alex Tuck, I know you haven't played much, but you know what? Go become so good that we can trade you and a couple other pieces for an all-star. And tell you what, become so good that you become an all-star. That's what he said. And he had to preach to every player on this team that just came to a new organization, that is probably anxious, that probably doesn't know what they're supposed to do with their life now that they're here, that just doesn't feel wanted from an organization that they were with. And they come to this brand new team, and everyone is new faces, and everyone's like confused and lost. And he came in, and he gave every single player a reason to fight, and a pretty darn good one if you made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. And that's why this team is special, because from top to bottom, everyone that was there said, hey, my last team didn't want me, but this team did. This team chose me. So I'm going to go out and give everything to this team so that this team knows that I did the right thing. And that's what everyone did. And there's not many players on this team that were drafted with high expectations and stayed at the expectations. Pretty much everyone went above and beyond what their expectations were. From the goalies, from, hey, I didn't play a single game, 3-0, to, hey, I haven't had a win, and 12-4-2, and Fleury just came off of an NHL Stanley Cup, and he comes in and then 29-13-4, and he proves that he's still good enough. And all of these players, too old, still young, hasn't proven themselves, too costly, just the middle of the pack. We think we have a younger guy that can take your spot. Whatever it was, they came to Vegas, and they proved them all wrong. They proved them all wrong. And that's why this team was so special. So I just want to thank you. If you stayed this long, then I hope it was because I was a good storyteller. And I hope I taught you something that was semi-useful. And I hope you're ready to come back for the next one, for the playoffs. Because that one's just going to be even more special because there was even more craziness that happened. I mean, this team just insane all the way through. And just special. And, of course, I'm a Vegas fan. And there's going to be some bias. And I'm going to be a little more excited than someone else that's just telling the story. And I think that's what makes it great, and that's what makes it good. And I hope I got my point across, and I hope I wasn't too loud screaming in the mic or echoing or whatever. But I hope, even if it was just for a couple minutes during this video, that I got you excited for something that has already happened. To the point where maybe after this video, you want to go back and watch the highlights of that Game 3 and watch those 4 goals in 11 minutes. Or go search James Neal sliding goal against Dallas, game 1 of the 2017-2018 season, or go watch the hat trick of William Carlson, or go watch one of Fleury's 4 shutouts, or whatever. And I hope I got you enough excited where after you're done watching this video in a couple minutes here on YouTube, that you go back to that search bar and you type in something about Vegas and their inaugural season, or you go to Google and you do the same thing, or you go on Wikipedia and you look it up, or you go on the NHL and you go look at the Vegas files, or anything. And I hope that if you were already a fan of the Vegas Golden Knights when you came to this video, I hope that I brought you back to a good time. I know Vegas ain't great right now, but I hope I brought you back to something that really hyped you up, and I hope I amplified it. I hope I reminded you of some things that made you, that you might not have realized. And most importantly, I hope that I put a smile on your face. So thank you. My name is John. This is the Sports Advocate. Like I said, this is going to be a 3-part series. Next part should be out pretty darn soon after this because I'm recorded right after this. And like I said, there's going to be a 3-part series. That third part might be shorter than the rest just because it's just going to be a lot of stats. Might be a little boring. But yeah, thank you if you have tuned in all the way through. This was very intriguing to me. This is what started this channel, was me wanting to do this. And I guarantee you, if someone gives me a chance and I blow up and I get somewhere where I find it's relevant for me to repeat a video and I get some new attention, I will redo a video on this and make it really in-depth and just bring so much more excitement. And maybe it'll be a better mic, maybe it'll be better lighting, maybe it'll be, I don't know. But this is something that I care about and I enjoyed. And yeah, so thank you for tuning in. Comment down below if I got you a little bit excited. Comment down below any questions you may have. Or just comment your favorite NHL team down below and why you became a fan. And go ahead and like, dislike, subscribe, please. That's the only reason you'll know about the next 2 parts. My cat's about to knock this over. Oh, he ran away. Subscribe. That's how you're going to see the next 2 parts. And there likely will be a playlist. I don't know what a playlist will be called. But, yeah. So I'm going to end it right here. Thank you for tuning in. This is a little bit longer video. But I think it's worth it. And I think that I brought the energy. And I really hope I did. And I really hope I didn't drown anyone out. But I'm going to get to the point. Thank you so much for watching. There will be 2 more parts of this. I hope you tune in. I hope I taught you something today. I hope I made you smile. And you guys be safe out there.